Procedure of removing the tire and tube assembly here. Of course, the wheel's already off, but just follow the manufacturer's recommendations for removing the wheel if you're still dealing with a tube type tire. You can use the same procedure for tubeless. Just want to be a little more careful with the rims. These aluminum mags tend to scratch and gouge a lot easier than these old steel rims did. First thing I noticed, if you can see in the video, the tires have a balance mark. In this case, it's way down here. It should be up here near the stem. So I know this tire is shifted. Need to make sure we get that back to maintain the original balance. I'm not changing the tire, just the tube on this one. And we're going to grab a socket here, and we're going to start by removing the valve stem's cap. We'll set that off to the side. And then we're going to loosen up the stem nut. And I'm going to suspect this is either going to cock really bad because the tire spun on the rim as it got low on air, or it's just going to be completely torn. And sure enough, we'll get that nut off. See if you can see that. If you can see how much that stem is cocked, it should be pointing pretty much straight up. This is not a bad idea if you're running tube type tires, to check that once in a while to see if your tire has indeed spun on the rim, especially if you're a hard rider, you like to do burnouts, hard braking, because if you do continue to pull on it, you can rip the stem right out of the tube. That's going to give you a what we call a catastrophic failure or a blowout. That's not fun. Okay, now to remove the tire, I got it sitting on top of a regular automotive rim so that the tire can move downwards. Be aware too that there is what's called a drop center in the rim. That's the area where the spokes are. That's where I want the tire to kind of seat into as I work it off. Gives me a little more slack. I'm going to start away from the stem to take the tire off, and that's where I'm going to end up when we put it back on. So first thing we're going to do is put the stem in front of me, and then we're going to take the, of course this is flat, there's no air in it, but we'll go ahead and get my valve core remover. We'll go ahead and pull the stem out of this one anyway. You would be doing that if you're changing the tire. Now you know what, if you're going to change the tire and you do run a tube, it makes no sense to not change the tube. They all rotate at the same time, and that's my little kitty cat coming to see what we're doing. It would just be stupid to run an old tube in a new tire. So change them at the same time. Anyway, we got the nut off. I'm going to start with the one end of the spoon here, 180 degrees away. Get that started. And I'm going to bring my other one close by. And then I want to push this down into that drop center as much as I can, so I have as much play as I can. And then I'm just going to lift it up over the edge of the rim. And there's going to be a sweet spot where your next tool goes into place. It's not going to be right at the very top or way down the bottom. It's right in the middle, right near where that drop center starts. That allows you to move that tool between the tire and the rim nice and easy. And we're just going to slowly work its way back towards the stem. Now once we get about a third of the way, it's going to just literally fall off by that point. So we'll finish bringing it all the way around. One more time. And we'll get that all up. Okay, so now I have this side up. But getting to that stem can be kind of a pain in the butt because you're pulling up on the tire at the same time. So there's a couple of ways that you can do this. We can go on the other side, and we're going to put a tire tool right there at the stem. Again, I'm not too concerned about screwing up the stem. Obviously, the tire's flat, tube's ruined. I'm going to replace it anyway. And now with that in place, now I can pick up on the tube a little easier, and I can work that son of a gun right out. Now remember, this one's cocked, so it's not going to be real cooperative. But we'll get it. we go. And then I'm just going to pull the old tube out. Now this had an obvious screw in it, but if you're not sure what caused the tube to fail, take a good look right around where the spokes meet the wheel. In fact, I'll tell you what we'll do. If we're changing the tire, next of course we're going to get the tire off. Rather than go the other way around, I'm going to go where I started, and I'm going to do the same thing I did on the other side. I'm just going to bring the tire up over, like so. So I get about halfway, and then what I do is drop the tire, rim into the tire, and I can just pull it right on out. There we go. Now the tire's off. Check the tire for damage on the inside. Make sure you don't see any obvious damage from where it was punctured, especially if it was run hot. And what I was going to say earlier, check the condition of your rim liner. That's what's covering up those spokes. And if the spokes stick through the nipple in there, like right here, that can also rub against the tire and lead to a flat. So we're going to keep that on. Okay, so now we're going to go back together. For reference, I'm going to set the valve stem hole towards me, and I'm on the sprocket side, so I need to know the direction of rotation. The sprocket side is going to be on the left side of this bike, so the tire is going to go this way. I'm going to look for the arrow on the tire, showing the direction of rotation. You can see right there it is. So this side has to go up. So to put it on, I'm just going to take a little soapy water, and I'm going to lube the beads. Not too much. If you put too much, especially if it's too soapy, you get into wet weather and you can actually cause that to get soapy again and spin. So I'm going to push that into the drop center and then just push it onto the rim. Shouldn't take much. There we go. All right. Now I'm going to go ahead and lube up the other side, just a little, right there on the bead. And this is, I don't know, about 20% soap to water, enough where you can feel it being slick, but it's not pure. And it's just dishwashing soap. They do make tire lube for that. Okay, once I've got that there, the next step is to put my new tube in. So before I do that, we're going to take it out of the box. And just lost my little rubber band. Now this has a, well, did, has a valve core tool built into the cap. So I'm going to take the nut off. The nut, come on. There we go. And then I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to put some air in here to blow out the wrinkles. Because this is where you have to be careful. You don't want to get it wrinkled or get it caught on itself, and certainly you don't want to catch it with the tool, while you're putting it together, or you're just going to ruin the new tube. So just enough to take some of the wrinkles out, get it all straightened out. Now we'll take the stem out. And we'll set that off to the side where we won't lose it. Push some of the air out. Okay, and I got to realign my hole. There it is. And we'll go ahead and get the tube situated. Again, you can use the same technique I showed you earlier with holding the rim down. Give you a little more space. And you just want to be careful that you don't get that tube and I know I got it coming there somewhere. I change my angle a little bit so I can get to it a little easier. There we go. I'm going to put the nut on it just to hold it so it doesn't pop back into the rim, just a few threads. We'll go up and remove that tie iron. I'm going to get my little yellow balancing dot in line with the valve stem where it was originally, so my tire balance will be restored. Make sure the directional arrow is in the right direction before we seal it all up. And then we will get the tube in there. Right. We'll get it all the way tucked in. There we go. And recheck that. Make sure the stem is nice and straight. I'm going to run the nut down just momentarily so I can once again blow the tube up. This is going to help push the bottom bead into place and remove any wrinkles I might have inadvertently put in it. And while I'm doing the other side, it'll help the tube get out of the way if I do inadvertently, hit it with the tire tool. All right, I'm going to back that nut off again, and I'm going to add a little more soapy water around the bead. And again, I'm going to start this time on the stem side, so I'm going to come over and slide this up into the drop center, and I'm going to push this down into it. I'm going to push it on as far as I can before I have to grab a tie iron. Now I'm going to, like I said, I want to keep that in the drop center because that gives me the most slack that I can get. And I'm just going to take small little hunks as I go around. Right. It's going to be that last quarter, that last third. Try to feel that for that tube. If you don't want to get it caught. So I always like to kind of go up onto the rim and then bring the tool back to where I want to take my bite. And we'll be very careful I don't hit that tube. Like I said, it's gonna be that last little bit. It's gonna be the hard part. Almost there. Gonna get one more bite. We'll try the other side a little flatter. Just a little. Whoop, just a little. And on we go. Okay. And yeah, with these little tie irons, it can take a little effort, no question. They make equipment to do this with, but hey, we don't all have that kind of money, so we'll show you how to do it the old-fashioned way. Okay, again, I'm going to make sure my mark is where it's supposed to be. Tube is nice and straight. I can bring the nut down and install the valve. And now we can air it up. And if you pinched it, you're going to know it. You're going to hear the noise. Last thing, if you look very closely at the tire, you're going to see a little tread groove or a little bead groove, a marking. Follow it around, make sure it's equal all the way around, both sides, all the way around. Set the final pressure. Snug up the nut. And this just has to be snug, not tight. And you're done.